Hi, I'm Tammy White. I'm the founder of the Bobby White Foundation.
I'm Bonnie Snyder, your co-host. Welcome to Hope in the Light of Suicide.
We're just kind of doing a 180 from a few minutes ago, but
It's fine. It's fine. Like I said, the things that go on set before we go on air. Anyway, welcome, guys.
yeah, welcome. First off, we want to thank Rob and John from Area 52 Media Group, Area 52 TV. Okay. I think I got that right.
We just know it's Area 52.
Area 52. That's the easiest part to remember. We were actually at Hernando Chamber of Commerce had a business expo last night. And I went up there with John and DeLynn, and it was really, really, really good. Met a lot of people. They have a huge chamber, really good participation with small businesses up there. Mm-hmm. So, and I knew a couple of people up there anyway because I'm a member of the Spring Hill Central Rotary. Good. So, so that was good. So it was kind of a late night. Kind of winding down last night afterwards, but it was fun. It was fun going up there and representing the studio and helping John out. So did that. I guess we have events coming up,
we
should go tomorrow. And by the time this airs, it's going to be over with. But Pasco Hernando State College is celebrating their 50th anniversary, and they're having a big family and kids event up there. And so we're going to be there with a table with the foundation. And then the following week, which is the 12th, I think, is that Saturday? I think it's the 12th, is the Pasco County Out of the Darkness Walk for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And both of us are going to be there.
The 12th? Actually, I won't.
You're not going to...
I am on...
Oh, that's right. You took your
vacation starting... Well, when I walk out of the studio, I have a quick work meeting, for my other job, my other life. But yeah, I have a quick work meeting, and then after that work meeting, I'm on vacation. Which, we talk about, mental health and wellness and everything else like that. And people are like, well, wait a minute. Because when I didn't really, this vacation is Greg's fault, not mine. I'm blaming him for vacation.
Blaming the boyfriend. That's good.
It is his fault. I mean, he'll tell you it is his fault. But no, we're driving up on Sunday to his parents. We're doing Christmas early this year. Because December is going to be like a crazy month for him. And so, we won't be able to go up, Thanksgiving or Christmas. So it was like, okay, let's just do it early. And initially, I don't think initially I was going to go. It was, there's some stuff there for a minute. But then, his parents wasn't having it like, no. I mean, he could go if he wanted to, but the joke is, I'm going to visit his parents. He's just going along for the ride. He's just driving me there. But anyway, of course, so when the dates were set to go, I know he wouldn't know, but my brain was not processing what was going on, this upcoming week. And so initially, yes, I was going to do Out of Darkness. But like I said, we leave Sunday, and I don't come back home until sometime on the 14th.
Oh, okay. Wow.
So yeah, I'm going to miss all of that. But what I was saying in terms of, from a mental health perspective, it's important that we do, self-care, and we all need a reset on our life. And so, for me, I get lovingly yelled at, by my supervisor a lot because, she's always like, are you taking care of yourself? Are you, you're looking, you need self-care. When's the last time you went on vacation? And so I try to plan somewhere around the October, November timeframe to take some time off. She's like, you're going on a cruise, right? And I was like, no, not this year, which I was kind of bummed about because it's usually a cruise to do the reset, but the boss. But so no, I think it's important, for people to recognize that, self-care and taking time out for yourself is important. And sometimes, unfortunately, it interferes with the other stuff we have going on.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. Well, I'll be there. And I'm actually one of the speakers at the event. So that is, my sister-in-laws are going to be there manning my table while I do that part of it.
And ASAP is going to be there.
And ASAP will be there. And then, okay, that's the 12th. And then the 17th is the NOPE.
17th is
Candlelight Vigil.
the Narcotics Overdose Prevention and Education Candlelight Vigil. The 17th from 5 to 8 at Pasco Hernando State College. Again, this college supports, community events all over the place. So
yeah, they really do.
In addition, to their 50th anniversary, and as you can notice from the flyer here, they actually, to support, ASAP in this vigil, they paid for us to have a national speaker, and so Randy Grimes, who is, I think he played for the Bucks for a while, but former NFL player, he's going to be our keynote speaker. And his speech is, called Off Center: Families Can Recover and Do. If you've never heard Randy Grimes speak, he is dynamic. I listened to him. He was the keynote speaker at a DEA youth summit a few years back, and I, listened to, I was there for that event, and got to meet him afterwards. Very, very, very nice guy. Very personable, so I'm excited to hear him speak. And then that following Saturday, on the 19th, I'm representing Stan today, our youth coalition is doing a car wash fundraiser at the Advance Auto parts store here in Newport Richey on Little Road.
Between where we live?
Yeah, so our Walmart neighborhood market is here, right across the street. Yes. Right. And so they're doing that this fundraiser is to raise money to assist needy families over the holidays. It's just another, example of what our, the youth do to, put their, land their footprint in our community.
That day is also National Suicide Loss Survivors Day. And we won't have an event here in Pasco County. For the Tampa Bay area, it's going to be in Pinellas. And I forgot to get that information, but I'll get that information so that it's on our Facebook page and website. And so I have it for the show next time. They usually have it in Seminole, but I'm not sure, but I'll get that information if anybody is interested in that. And then we did get good confirmation today that I'll be putting on a program at Our Lady Queen of Peace Church in Newport Richey on December 1st. It's sponsored by Our Lady Queen of Peace, the Knights of Columbus, and of course the Bobby White Foundation. And I'm picking up the flyer right after the show, so we'll get that all up and we'll have it for next week too. And the church is inviting all the religious leaders in our community, but it's not just for them. We're pushing it out to the whole community, so anybody is invited, and it's free to attend. So I'm really kind of excited about that. You might want to be there with me if you
December
can.
1st?
December 1st.
It's on my calendar. We'll have it on my calendar.
It's a Thursday night.
I will put it on my calendar.
Okay. So that would be good. So, anything else? Oh, I have to tell you something. Oh, remember we were talking last week before the show, I was going to go get a haircut? You can't tell, but I did get a haircut. it feels like I got a haircut.
I can tell you took maybe this much off.
Yeah, well, she took about 2 inches off. I went to my niece, and why I want to bring this up is I don't get to see her that often. I mean, it's been like 15 months since I got a haircut. I have seen her in between that time, but we were talking, and she was telling me about and when she was a teenager, and I remember when she was like in that high school age, she was having a really difficult time, and we've talked a lot about this recently, especially with the recent suicide of McKenna Brown, and Molly was telling me what she was kind of going through when she was in high school. Molly's in her mid-20s now, and she was telling me that at that age she was going through a lot of depression, and it was at the beginning of social media. And she said that social media played a really big part in what she was dealing with. And with the social media, the bullying, the depression. And she said, now if I had to tell my younger self when I was that age, just to hang on, you're going to get through this, it isn't going to last. And I thought that was really cool coming from her. But then she also told me, because I had briefly said something when we were talking last week about adult bullying. And she was telling me that even when she had worked for this salon when she first got into the business, and she got into it probably right either in high school or right after high school. And so she had worked for this salon for, several years. And her and another gal were going out on their own. And she was getting bullied from the other people at the salon for leaving.
I don't think that people take into full account the impact of bullying. I often question if people understand the reasoning behind bullying. When I'm doing my other work, when I'm not on set, my non-set
Right.
work, let's put it that way. Whenever I'm working with, groups of children, students, I used to, just ask them, tell me what are some of the topics that you think that are important to you. What are some of the topics that you want for me to facilitate with you guys? What's bothering you? And I used to do this, in public, and I sensed after a while, wait a minute. So some kids were very reluctant to raise their hand, or I would hear one student say, I want to talk about, and I'll use, I'll bring up bullying, and as my area of concentration is behavior. So as I'm looking behaviorally, I could see, either eyes, open, and it's one of those I'm so glad somebody else said that besides me,
Right.
or yes, I'm glad that somebody brought that up. Or I'll see the collective head nods of students that said, yes, that right there. Later on, I decided, you know what, I'm going to do this a little differently because my brain was processing, am I putting some of these students out there, or what's the word I'm looking for? Basically, shining a spotlight on them,
Right.
because hey, I want to talk about this. So I would give them each a sticky note, and said, I want you to write your top 3 things that you want to talk about. And I'm never surprised that the top, my top 2 that I typically get back, bullying is one. The other one is self-esteem. Mm-hmm. And I look at, what is the correlation between bullying and self-esteem? And, it is sometimes low self-esteem, often results in I'm going to engage in bullying behavior. Why? Because I want somebody to feel just as bad as I feel. Or, what, I'm bullied because, we have a whole bullying presentation that we presented to students. And, we talk about a lot with, youth on youth bullying. But, when you just said adult bullying, it's like, I don't think that people realize that it is, that is not a phenomenon or an epidemic that only, affects children.
Right, yeah.
I can sit back and be like, how many times in my life as an adult have I been bullied? Or being in a situation to where I would say, you know what, if I were to really unpack what was going on, we can define this as bullying. And I do, as I'm talking to my, the students, a lot of them think it's just us, at school age. And I'm like,
Right.
oh, no, I can tell you, Miss Bonnie's been bullied, as an adult. And they all look like, and, I think it's important to, that adults and children understand that you're not by yourself. Something like what we do here, as we're talking, our overarching subject. You're not by yourself. Like you're not
Right.
the only one. And I don't want to say you're not the only one, to be snarkly. However, there's a club, there's a movement out there that a bunch of us belong to. And, we're here to support, one another. The strength in numbers,
Right.
is how I look at it.
Right, yeah. And even thinking about it, and I never even thought about this for a really long time, there was a point many, many years ago in my career when I really first started diving into the framing industry that I was bullied. And this guy thought I wanted his job, which I didn't have the experience. And and the ironic thing was that some of the things that he did, just one day I was watching him because he wouldn't teach me what I wanted to know. But I was really good at what I did, and so I could do what he would let me do and watch him and pick things up. And he leaned across the table and tried to hit me. Well, guess what? I got his job anyway. But I didn't with my niece. I didn't know these things happened with her, with her job, and I knew she had, a hard time in high school and stuff. But I thought of something, and now it just stopped. It got out of my mind. Yeah, with her, she said the social media, and she said, and this is true. Before social media, if you were bullied, it pretty much stayed at school. And you could go home and you didn't have to really deal with it. Now, it can be 24/7.
That's so true.
And that is a huge, huge issue. But I'm so proud of my niece, as she's done really well on her own. As a hairdresser, and she's married and has a cute little boy. Nash is going to be 3 years old here in another week and a half, and he's just adorable. So I'm really proud of her for working through that and knowing, even that she would tell her younger self, it's going to be okay. This isn't going to last.
And the thing about bullying, too, is that correlation between, kids that are bullying, again, bringing it back to that whole social media, it's, 24/7 in your face, you can't escape. And, statistically, how many individuals, young and older, that have reached that step of either attempting or completing suicide just because of that.
Oh, yeah.
I often find myself, riveted to, different news articles or news pieces on TV. So and so, or this particular individual's, parent or friend, but usually it's a parent, who's bringing their child's story to the forefront.
Right.
my child, is no longer here right now because of bullying. I can't remember the person's name, unfortunately, but I remember listening about the one girl who was convicted, because she was basically, telling her then boyfriend.
The boyfriend.
Yeah, do it. Just
Yeah.
do it. Like basically goading him to. And when he did, it was like,
Yeah.
like, oh my God. Like, we don't know. I think it's sad that as a people, that individuals aren't able, whether it's in that moment, in that second, to understand that, words matter, how you treat people matter, and you never know what a person is going through, and that one negative comment might be the one thing that pushes them over. And, unfortunately, if somebody completes, suicide, you can't say, oops, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it.
Yeah, you can't take it back.
No, you cannot. That person's not coming back. And so, I think it's important, to keep the movement and message, anti-bullying movement and message in the forefront.
Well, and even, if someone maybe acts bad towards you, still be kind, because maybe they're going through something that's really hard and really bad, and they don't know how to process it at that moment. Just still be kind.
And it's funny that you say that, because this week, with my groups, we were talking about that very thing. Like, it was, we're talking self-esteem, or helping, to boost their self-esteem. And I was, we were talking about, but people, talk mean to me. And I said, okay, so let me give you an example. And I looked at my students and I said, if somebody looked at me and said, you're ugly, and I mean, I have to admit, this is the example that I used. You're ugly. I looked at him and I said, okay. And I said, now I could do two things with that. I could either, take offense to it, like, wow, you just went there, let it affect me negatively, or I can say, thank you for your opinion, and move on. Because what's important is, do I think I'm ugly? No. I mean, granted, I'm not going out for a Miss America, Miss Universe. Not my forte anyway. I don't do the bikini thing. So the swimsuit thing just wouldn't, But anyway, that's an aside. But no, on a serious note. But I taught them, and I remember this one, place that I was working at. I would look at the kids and say, okay, let's do this. Give me the most negative words you can think of. And they would give me a negative word. And I was like, okay, give me a positive word for it. And if I'm going to use, ugly, the one that I use the most is the B word. And it's like, people call me a B word. And I was like, okay, let me think about this. I could be upset about it, or I say thank you. And, but anyway, let me go back to ugly, just because this is a family show, somewhat. So I was like, okay, give me a positive word for you, unique. Give me a positive word for G, gorgeous, good, good-natured. Give me a positive word for L, lovely. Give me a positive word for Y, youthful. Okay, thank you for calling me ugly. Go back to the other word, beautiful, intelligent, talented, cute, humorous. Thank you for calling me that word. And, I remember my students, looking at me like, oh my gosh, they never thought about this. And I could see like some of their faces brighten up. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden I started getting, these words. Well, Miss Bonni, when I was in school, someone called me this. And I'm like, I'm listening to the young ladies, the C word. I'm like, you're joking me like. So I was like, okay, let's do this. The word that begins with S. Just all, and I'm thinking to myself, you guys are subjected to this? And so, I'm hearing, all right, so let's make these ugly words into something positive. And I said, now, what do you think would happen if someone calls you calls you ugly, and you say thank you, you just told me I was, unique. I'm going to go with gifted, I think is what I do. I'm unique, I'm gifted, I'm lovely, and I'm youthful. Thank you very much. you know, it's basically the intent is to take the sails out, take the wind out of the bullies.
Right.
Let them see that I know what you're trying to do. I'm not going to let you push my button.
Right.
But yeah, like I said, so anyway, like I said, this week that we were talking about that very thing. Don't let it get to you. It's what you think about yourself. I jokingly say I'm chunky, but I like every bit of my junk. I look, as soon as I look at myself on camera, I was like, holy junk, you really need to get in the gym. But you know what? I'm still cute.
Oh, well.
Or as Greg says, what am I going to do with you? I was like,
Okay.
okay.
So, anything else happen this week?
Did anything else happen this week? No. Yes? I mean,
No.
something happened that I'm
No.
not remembering?
No. No, because I haven't even hardly been on social media very much, so I have no idea.
Yeah, no. I mean, along with the whole, staying with this whole bullying theme and whatnot, I had the opportunity to talk to the principal in one of the schools, that I work in, and they were telling me how, the climate of, how students are treating one another, and that it's really gotten worse. The name calling, the racial slurs.
Well, I really think it's the environment of the adults too, because it's happening out there just as bad right now.
Oh my gosh, yes. And our transgender kids are being targeted, and I'm listening to him talk, and I'm not going to go down a political rabbit hole. I just won't do that. I don't want to offend anybody. I don't belong to any political party, as I think we've shared before.
Right.
I'm not not a registered voter even. Bonni, all right, guys.
Hey,
I served in the military. I just have never, surprisingly, I've just never registered to vote. But anyway, that being said, I'm listening to him, and he's like, "Can you please, come in and just do a presentation with our entire student body on appropriate interpersonal relationships?" And I'm like, absolutely. And and you're right. I think the climate in, whether it's schools or in organizations, it does come from the top. But I have to say, in the case of this particular school and its particular principal, this principal has got to be one of the. I love working for him in his school. He's like, I've tried this. Like October was a complete. Be nice to one another, month, say something nice. We're trying something for, Thankful November, because it's Thanksgiving. And he says, despite everything that we've tried to do, it seems like, we're not able to get ahead of why this is happening. So I'm not that, we need to bring out the big guns. Not that I consider myself the big guns. We need some help.
Well, I think,
addressing this.
I think it's coming from the outside in.
Yes.
Is what's happening.
Now, if I was in a different, in a different school in our district, I would be like, oh yeah, that's definitely coming from the top. Like,
right.
That environment is, a direct reflection of who's at the top.
Right.
And I mean, not that I'm, picking on, schools, but you do have a very valid point. And if I use children, for example, if children are hearing this at home, or this is acceptable at home, guess what happened? It's going to It's going to follow them into school, and it's like, well, mommy and daddy say it's okay. Unfortunately, there are times where mommy and daddy might be being, ugly to people. And I had, children look at me and say, I don't want to be like my parents. And I'm like, okay. And draw, how do you navigate that balance? But yeah, it is something that needs to be addressed. It is something that, people in my field, continue to address. Because again, we want to see, whether it's the rates of suicide, substance use, mental health in general, we want to see those numbers decrease. I mean, I hate, and this is going to sound weird, but there are times that I hate being able to say I have job security.
Right.
That as a mental health professional, I have job security. And, it's like sometimes where it's like, is that something to be proud of? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love what I do, but at the same time, it sounds weird, but I would love to be able to say, am I going to have a job next year? I would like for things to get that good.
Well, and I've said that too about the foundation. Is like, I mean, I'm glad that we're doing what we're doing now because it is really needed. But I really hope someday we don't have to be here.
Okay.
That we can. And it does. It sounds weird. I hope someday that the Bobby White Foundation can just kind of sit back quietly and everything will be better, and we don't have to be out here doing what we're doing. But I don't see that happening for a long time.
Like, if my job entailed, getting people ready, there's, our friend, Maria, for instance, at our Friday, her
Right.
son's getting married this weekend.
Right.
So if it's like, okay, let me talk you through the anxiety of being the mother of the groom.
Right.
Or, hey, let me talk you through the anxiety of being the bride. It's okay, you're going to get through this. This is a beautiful day. Let me, help you, let me do an assessment that allows you to figure out where you want to go, what kind of job you want to get into. If that's what I guess I'm
positive
always,
side.
yeah,
Yeah.
if I guess I'm always going to have job security in some form. I just want that job security to be, positive and not because I'm I'm in a position where I have to talk somebody off the ledge, or I'm in a
Right.
position where, I've got this person, whether it's an adult or child, whose self-esteem is so low that they are contemplating, ending their own life. I want not to have to talk to somebody who's so angry that, they're going to be the next school shooter, or we hear that they've taken out themselves and their family. We can go on and on.
Yeah, that's especially in the climate of today, which is, it's sad and it's hard, and it causes anxiety and sadness and grief, and it's, yeah. Speaking of which, grief, we have our new book.
We do have our new book.
We have our new book, and the holidays are coming up, and this is, of course, by our favorite renowned grief expert, Alan Wolfelt, and Healing Your Holiday Grief. And this is a good little book. You can get it on Amazon. I forgot to change the website, but you can get it on the website. It just says the new book that we're coming, or up and coming, next book or something, but it's on there. So if you go to our website, you can click on the book and it'll take you right there. And a little bit of the proceeds will go to the foundation. But it's a nice little book. We went through
We're at number 9.
first 8 last week, and so number 9 begins, and we've gone through similar ones before, but it's always good to go back as a reminder, and especially during this time of year, understanding the 6 needs of mourning, which is kind of like the grief step, sort of, but in a different way.
Yeah, I like the way he spells this out. When you say, we've talked about this and we've gone through some of this before, there are some things that I think we can't say enough.
Exactly.
Because, like, there's certain things that you repeat them over and over and over again, or, you practice them over and over enough that they become second nature to you. And so I like where, he talks about, again, these 6 needs of mourning. And so he says, need number 1, acknowledge the reality of death. You must gently confront the difficult reality that someone you love is dead and will never physically be present with you again. Whether the death was sudden or anticipated, acknowledging the full reality of the loss may occur over weeks or months. And the last one, he says, at times you may push away the reality of death. This is normal. You will come to integrate it. You will come to integrate the reality in death as you are ready.
In doses, as you are ready.
Oh, in doses as you are ready. Okay, I can't read with my glasses on. This is why you see me sometimes take my glasses off when I read. I need my glasses to see, but I can't read with my glasses.
And sometimes it's hard, especially in a sudden death, a suicide or an overdose or any other tragic sudden death. It can be hard to initially accept that this is real, and it takes time sometimes to accept the fact of what happened and try and integrate it into your life. And the integration is real, and acceptance is the integration, I think, is the hard part, along with the acceptance.
Yeah,
it kind of goes hand in hand there.
It is, and especially, what I find too is, especially when the death happens close to the holidays, my brain is thinking, the friends that I met on our way to Kansas, for Aiden, one of the 2 daughters, the woman who got the rental car for me, her mother-in-law, unfortunately passed away in a car crash here recently. And, I'm like, my heart is going out to them. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish that I was there, and of course, we do it over, via social media and everything like that. But I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, you were there for us when we were going through our stuff. But now here, you're going to have to go through this mourning so close to the holidays. And so as you approach the holidays, it's going to be right before Thanksgiving was this.
Well, and that happened to me years ago. My first husband was killed on December 3rd.
Yeah, the Christmas month.
Yeah, and it was just, Christmas wasn't there. It was, you just, and it's even though, I remarried and, everything else, it's still always there every year. And it wasn't, when I guess, started my new life, it wasn't, I didn't say anything. It was like a day that I just kind of had to keep to myself, because, I don't know, not at first, because, Bobby was with Michael when he was killed. They were working together. And so we went through that grieving process together for, several years, and then, went on with our lives. But, it's still not a day that you ever forget.
Right.
And now I was thinking about it, actually the last few weeks, because I don't know if you noticed, well, I haven't been to our Friday meetings in a little while, and I haven't been going to the Tuesday meetings. I've kind of pulled back a little bit with my networking stuff because this begins to be a hard time for me, and I going back to the self-care, because this month is both my husband's birthdays, and they're a day apart. And when Bobby was alive, it was easier. I go, still remember Michael, in our life, still remember that, which was just a few weeks later when he was killed. But now that they're both gone, it makes it harder.
You get the
Because,
double whammy.
yeah, and I think that I never even really thought about it, and especially when I went through the first depression about 3 years ago, and it started around this time of year, but it is now, it was just recently when I realized, really what it was, and so I'm like, I think I just need to pull back a little, just take a little bit of extra time for myself. I've got plenty of things to do around the house. I've got my business I need to focus on too, and just kind of take it a little bit easier so that I don't put myself back in that situation I was in 3 years ago.
Exactly.
Because the depression now, I mean, it's still a battle, but it's easier to fight because I can realize it much more to take care of myself.
And which is, what he says here. His carpe diem says, tell someone about the death today. Talking about it will help you work on this important need. And I think what I find happens with, talking about the loss, it's important that, for lack of a better way to put it, you're selective on how you talk about it.
Yeah, definitely.
What I find is there are some people who, come on, it's been X number of years. You should get over it or stop talking about it. It's like, do I really? And and I have to admit, I found myself guilty of this as well, because at our work, we lost not our work colleague, but someone who was familiar to our work, was lost to suddenly. And I found myself from time to time, as I'm listening to, people who knew this person, better than I did. I think I knew of the person and didn't really have a relationship with them. But I did find myself saying, if I hear this person's name one more time, like, come on, guys, like, get over it, like, move on. It's not like they were family. It's not like... And, fast forward to now, I'm like, again, much like, when I was talking to, Kira after Pat, I found myself saying, oh my gosh, how insensitive. It's like I found myself, it's almost like an awakening of sorts, to where it was like, everybody grieves, everybody grieves in their own manner, and it's okay to talk about it like those individuals needed to talk about the loss. And when we're in conversations, now, I hear sometimes, I still, from other people, I still get emotional when I think about this. It's been such and so amount of time. I should be over this by now. I'm like, no. And again, in my head, I'm and I think I've verbalized this. I have to admit, when that happened, this is what I was doing, and I so owe you an apology, because that was insensitive of me. Because now, on a completely different level, I understand what you were going through. I understand the process so much, maybe not better. I understand the process differently now that, it's like losing a grandparent, a cousin, my brother, my nephew, whatnot. All right, that was one thing. A whole different perspective when it's your child.
Right.
And not to again, I'm not minimizing any other, loss. But I think for me, the eye-opening experience in terms of what I thought I knew versus what I know now was really, really changed after Pat. So let's go on to need number 2.
Okay. Embrace the pain of the loss. That's a hard one. This need requires mourners to embrace the pain of their loss, something we naturally don't want to do. It is easier to avoid, repress, or push away the pain of grief than it is to confront it. It is embracing your grief, however, that you will learn to recognize yourself to it.
Reconcile.
Reconcile.
I
They
got
shouldn't hyphenate that
you.
word like that.
I got you. You know, and this one, I'm going to agree. You know, when you said this is a hard one, what I find, you know, and this is with any, I'm going to put it in this context, any negative emotion. When we are hanging on, actually, let me take negative emotion. I'm just going to put it anything. When we hang on to things, we're hanging on to them because they serve a purpose. And the inability to let it go is usually because we either don't know what we're going to replace it with, or we're afraid of replacing it with whatever it's going to be replaced with. So it's that little bit of that fear of the unknown. So you know, if we're hanging on to grief, that's familiar. I know what this feels like. You know, I got this. But wait, if I'm not grieving anymore, then what? Wait a minute. This doesn't make sense. You know, how am I supposed, if I replace grief with happiness, am I then saying that I'm okay with the person being gone? And that is not the case. You know, understanding and recognizing we're still here, you know, and allowing yourself to continue to live while still recognizing the loss isn't diminishing the person that's gone. It's not diminishing their memory or anything like that. You know, it is, I look at it more of what can I do to honor Pat? What can I do to honor Aiden? What can I do to honor those that have gone, you know, before me? But, you know, we talk specifically about those two because of the manner in which we lost them. And, you know, once, you know, you're able to, you know, if like I said, if I let go of grief, sometimes it's replaced with guilt. But I don't want to feel guilty about being happy. All right. So can I be, quote unquote, happy without being guilty?
Yeah, I think I can do that. For me, I realize, I mean, the pain is deep and it's heavy, and it you know, when you I've had this and I've felt this really. Sometimes there's like real happiness, and it's so much lighter than the pain. The pain takes so much energy, but it's hard to stay in the happiness, even though it's so much easier and lighter than it is, especially in a deep grief. You know.
So what is his carpe diem?
His carpe diem. If you feel up to it, allow yourself a time for embracing pain today. Dedicate 15 minutes to thinking about and feeling the loss. Reach out to someone who doesn't try to take your pain away and spend time with him. You know,
I'm reading that one. I love this one. As I'm looking at it, I have to chuckle because, you know, as I said, you know, I'm going to be on vacation next week, and you know, usually when I'm on vacation, I'm usually on a cruise.
Right.
Well, I'm not doing a cruise this year. You know, just so I told myself I'm going to take 2 next year. But anyway, my planner, you know, the guy that I use, you know, when I'm planning vacations, he calls me and he was like, you know, hey, Bonnie, just want to, you know, talk to you about, you know, planning your next cruise. And I'm like, okay. And he goes, I hope Patrick and George aren't giving you too much trouble. And, you know, I look at this, and this is my vacation planner, you know, my personal vacation planner, who, you know, when I'm looking at this, find somebody who doesn't take your pain away. And, you know, for me, his name is Ron. When I'm talking to Ron, to have him, like when I call him, hey Ron, this is Bonnie, get ready to plan the next trip, what you got, let's talk,
Right.
destinations and whatnot. And when he says, hey Bonnie, how you doing? How are Patrick and George? And I sit back, this guy probably works with thousands of people.
Right.
But the fact that he remembers, this thing that I told him, I have 2 ghosts in my house. One is George was in the house when I bought it. And then, Patrick, my son, that he remembers that, and he, one, doesn't, he doesn't minimize, he doesn't like, this woman's off her rocker.
It doesn't judge.
Thank you, that's what I was trying to think of, no judgment and whatnot. I'm
Right.
like, wow, it makes, the fact that, I'm embracing the fact that my son is gone, but he's still here in some way, shape, or form. And to have somebody else who can laugh with me about the ghosts in my house.
Right.
Sometimes I just call, hey Rob, just want to call and chat. Hey, I'm going to plan it. Let's plan the next one, and we'll go off, down a rabbit hole about something else. And it's usually, so what are the boys up to? This is what they're up to today. Do you know? So yeah.
That's funny.
I like that one.
That's good, yeah.
All right, so his next need, number 3, remember the person who died. It says, when someone loved dies, they live on in us through memory. To heal, you must actively remember the person who died and commemorate the life that they lived. Never let anyone take away your memories in a misguided attempt to save you from pain. To stop thinking about her is not good advice. And I love, love, love that one, because that's precisely what we were just talking about. Don't tell me stop thinking about the person who's gone. If I look back and I think of my grandparents, okay, they've been gone for 30 odd years. There's not a moment that goes by. And they were both old. My grandfather was late 80s. My grandmother was late 90s when we lost her. But it's like, all right, they were old. It was, they were ill. Grandmother was a little different, but they were ill. They're supposed to be gone. They're old people.
Right.
We expect old people to go. At the same time, it's like, yes, they're gone. However, I still think of them, even though it's been 30 years.
Oh, yeah, I do too. I have this grandmother, and she was actually my great-grandmother. And I think about her all the time, because I went through this period sometimes that I forget to lock the doors. And someone told me one time that this Grandma Cantrell is her name, that's what we called her, that she was our protector of our doors. That if I forgot to lock the doors, she was there to protect us, or protect me. And so when I find that I forgot to lock the door, I was like, oh, thank you, Grandma, for protecting me. And ironically, she was the first person, not the first person, but kind of the first funeral I ever went to. I think I was 16 when she passed away. And my mom, she didn't want me to go to the funeral. And I was like, I'm old enough to go to the funeral. And I did really good until they started lowering her casket, and then I lost it. But I always, whenever I forget to lock my doors, I'm just like, hey, Grandma, thank you for protecting me.
Yeah, I mean, those little things that we do that, helps us remember the person that's gone. To me, if I see a shadow in the kitchen, Pat, go sit down. Or what are you going to go eat, son? It's those little things. All right? What does 4 say?
We're 4, develop a new self-identity. This is what I'm working on really, really hard. Part of your self-identity was formed by the relationship you had with the person who died. You may have gone from being a wife to a widow, or from a parent to a bereaved parent. The way you define yourself and the way society defines you is changed.
You know what I say to that one? I don't define myself as a bereaved parent. I maintain my self-identity as a parent.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I don't define myself as a widow either. To me, I'm still a wife.
And when people ask me, how many children do you have? I tell them I have 3. Oh, and I was like, and I say, Carl is 41, Gene is 37, and Patrick will forever be 33. And they were like, what? And then I tell them, I said, my youngest son is no longer with us. He was, but sometimes they don't catch the was 33.
Right.
Sometimes they hear he is. But at the same time, it's like, no. Yeah, and again, some people will say I'm a bereaved, I'm a widow, I'm a bereaved parent and whatnot. I don't take that away from them. It's just for me and my own self-identity.
Right.
I keep that. We are running
Oh my
short of
gosh,
time.
look at that. We thought we were going to get through all these and we didn't. Okay, so if someone you know is in distress, please call 911. Put these numbers in your phone, please.
Rob, our quote.
Our quote is, go ahead, that's your quote.
Just before sunrise, there is a dark night. Just remember, nighttime darkness does not last forever. Every day the sun rises, and it's on to a new day.
Yep, it's always, what do they say? It's always darkest before always darkest before the light. So in that, just remember, there's always hope. Thank you.
Bye.